Sport climbing was ascending rapidly toward its much anticipated Olympic debut in Tokyo 2020. But like all Olympic sports and their respective international federations, COVID-19 threw things off course. One more year to wait, adapt, and ponder. For 40 of the world's premier sport climbers, it's only a postponement of their Olympic dreams. Come Tokyo in 2021, male and female sport climbers will showcase their strength, agility, and problem-solving skills across 3 disciplines: bouldering, lead, and speed climbing. Olympic medals will be up for grasp for the first time ever in a sport whose traditional outdoor roots date back more than 130 years. Hello and welcome to this video edition of ATRadio. I'm Brian Pinelli. Joining me now from Torino, Italy, is the founder and president of the International Federation of Sport Climbing, Marco Scolaris. Hello, Marco. How are you today?
Hello, Brian. Hello, everybody. It's good. It's a sunny day, but we expect some thunderstorms in the afternoon, but that's life.
You know, you're a mountaineer, an outdoorsman. Unpredictability of weather is part of our lives every day, right?
It is true, although the world has totally changed in the last years. You know, we really rely on a reliable weather forecast, so we can plan accordingly our ascent, our climbs.
But there are more sunny days in Italy than maybe anywhere in the world. At least that's the Italian perspective, and a good one, right?
Let's put in this way. Let's keep this concept, and I think it's good. Then maybe it's not true all the times, but it's nice. Yeah.
Marco, when I think of climbing, and I used to do some climbing many years ago back in the Shaolin Cliffs outside of New York, but I think, of course, of the Mont Blanc Massif outside of Chamonix, and of course El Capitan and Half Dome and Yosemite National Park in California, and of course the spectacular Italian Dolomites in your country. But it seems that sport climbing over the past decade has really grown exponentially. I know the figures in the United States are astounding. I assume in other countries also. What do you think has been the appeal and the growth of sport climbing over recent years?
Well, it's an interesting question because the growth was surprising even us. I mean, when we started the game of organizing climbing competition in 1985, nobody could even expect that someday we would have talked about the Olympics and the medals, etc., etc. We were a sort of a social community because we were climbing on our own. We live in the bush, and it was really an alternative world. Then someone came out and said, okay, let's organize climbing competitions because the mountains are too hard, they're killing too many people, first ascents are not possible anymore. And we were quite reluctant, and we said, we don't like competitions. And then we said, well, maybe better that we govern this kind of things, or we lead this journey. And then things changed because over the years we realized the social impact of climbing, and generally speaking the social impact of sport. And with the introduction, the creation of what is called artificial walls, or walls purposely designed for climbing, there was a booming of the activities, because at the same time, we discovered that climbing is one of the 6 basic motor skills of humankind. Because without climbing, humankind would have not survived to the wild animals, to fires in remote and all the ages. And so that's why it comes natural. It's an instinct. It comes natural to the kids. They see an obstacle, a tree, a piece of rock, and now climbing walls, and they try to climb it. So we were surprised by the success, but at the same time, since this was for us the best sport in the world, of course, we say, why not sharing this with the rest of the world? And there is no better stage than the Olympic Games. Of course, some of us didn't like it. They didn't want to be exposed. They didn't want to to change anything. They didn't want to change the world or make it a better place to live. They didn't care. But there's still room for them. I mean, they can climb on their own. And it's just a different social approach. So I perfectly understand those who don't feel involved in this journey.
Yeah, of course, it was at Rio 2016 IOC Executive Board meeting, sport climbing and four other sports, including fellow lifestyle, outdoor, I guess you can say youthful sports like skateboarding and surfboarding, joining sport climbing and, maybe trying to give it at the Olympics more of an urban feel than its traditional outdoor environmental routes. But I guess, Marco, I'm wondering, what do you think sport climbing will add to the Olympic program?
Well, as I said, it's an instinct, and this instinct was not converted into a sport yet. Then we did it, and now we are in the Olympics. It's bringing the vertical world, because there is no sport, no physical activity practice in the vertical dimension in the Olympic Games. So it's something completely new. It's quite difficult to compare climbing with other existing sport in the game. So it's really new. And then the freshness of the youth, because as I said, we have millions of people practicing climbing around the world, but the number of kids and young people is really high compared to. Although this is a sport for all, because I'm 62, I still go climbing as much as I can.
It's maybe a little bit of a political question, but I ask you anyway. Do you prefer to do it outdoors in an amazing environment or in the gym? I guess there's pros and cons of both.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like asking, do you prefer to go swimming in a swimming pool or in the sea? They're two different things. That's why, for example, I said artificial climbing walls. We are not using artificial anymore because it's the same as the swimming pool. The water you have in the swimming pool is artificial somehow, but nobody calls this swimming artificial swimming,
Yeah. Marco, obviously it's been a difficult 3 months for everyone, especially athletes unable to train, organizers of sport, trying to figure out what are the next steps. This weekend, there would have been a World Cup event in Salt Lake City, Utah. So some great Wasatch Mountains, and I know the sport is big there. You've had cancellations, World Cup in Switzerland and Canada and Slovenia and Austria, obviously unfortunate. But I understand the IFSC does have a task force in place. What can you tell us about, getting back to the World Cup schedule and also the European Championships in Moscow pushed back to the end of November?
Yes, of course, this pandemic impacted the world of sport heavily. I have to say that the event that we canceled for this year, basically they are not canceled; they've been postponed to next year. But everybody tried to resist until the very last moment because we set a window of 8 weeks before approving or confirming an event. 8 weeks is the period of time in which a climber can train again, and also we can create the conditions for traveling, for our staff to be there, etc., etc. Yes, we are living day by day. And fortunately, in some countries in Europe is getting much better. Circulations among countries have been reopened somewhere. From next Monday, I think most of the borders will be reopening inside the European Union. Mm-hmm. And it was totally unpredictable. And those who are suffering the most are the athletes, of course, especially for the Olympic Games, the postponement of the Olympic Games. They were really ready. The Olympic Games were just around the corner, and all of a sudden say, "Oh no, go back home, wait," and then we see. What is good in our world is that almost nobody canceled the event immediately. They said, "Let's wait, let's see, maybe it's improving," and we want to be ready when the time comes, when better days are coming, and better days will come.
I like the optimism. We all have to be optimistic, of course. But again, for you guys, being that this is the first time around, I don't know, it would seem that it'd be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more stressful. But I guess on the positive side, sport climbing debuted at the Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a successful event, as I recall then.
I think that we were prepared for the games, but one more year for us, for the IFSC, is good, because we can bring the attention of more countries and involve more countries, not in the qualification that is close to be over, to be concluded, but for the next steps. The next steps are Dakar 2022 and, of course, Paris 2024, as well as the qualification path for Paris 2024 that probably will include also some of these games, continental games around the world. So for us, for the athletes it's bad, and we understand. For us, having one more year to expose the sport is not so bad.
If I understand correctly, 32 of 40 climbers are provisionally qualified for Tokyo 2020. Are you satisfied with the qualifying process the first time around? And I assume that remaining spots will be filled at Continental Championships later this year?
Yeah, exactly. So the four remaining slots will be assigned at the end of the year in the four remaining Continental Championships, because we just a few days before the crisis exploded and the lockdown in many of the countries around the world, we had the Pan American Championship in Los Angeles, and it actually the last time where actually we could cheer our athletes and giving medals and so on. Yeah, no, I am satisfied for the first experience. Of course, I can do better, and on what we have learned during this process, we will implement for Paris and for the future. Yeah.
We'll talk about Paris shortly. It looks like sport climbing will continue its Olympic journey in Paris 2024, still to be rubber stamped by the IOC, but all things look good. As far as the format for Tokyo 2020, as we said, 40 athletes, 20 male, 20 female, 6 medals, 2 gold medals at stake. And it's a combined format with bouldering, speed, and lead climbing. Some of the purists in the sport say maybe speed doesn't belong with bouldering and lead climbing. You've heard this many times, but just your thoughts on this initial format, and it seems like it will be modified come Paris 24.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. Even many were complaining about the format, that they were totally right, especially because we IFSC, were not able to explain. They explained the reason why we had to do it. We had to do it because the IOC was giving us 1 medal. That is quite logical for the first appearance. And from our side, we didn't want to leave any of the 3 disciplines behind. So if you don't want to leave any discipline behind, you have 3 disciplines, you have to make a combined. But we were not sufficiently clear to explain to the athletes and to the other stakeholders what was the intention, what was the reason behind. And so people were complaining. And under their point of view, they had the full right to complain. Because to combine actually a boulderer or a lead climber with the speed climbers is something really strange. But what is interesting, and this is interesting in life, sometimes you start from something that looks crazy, and then eventually it was not so bad. So today there is a general acceptance of this format, because now everybody knows the reason, and it was proved this format proved that it was also spectacular.
And encouraging for Paris 2024, as I understand, the quota will be increased to 72 athletes, double the medals at stake, and lead and bouldering 1 discipline, and speed another. So that's a step up for the sport.
It is absolutely a step up, and shows that actually we made the right choice, because both Paris 2024 and the IOC recognize the need to divide speed from bouldering and lead. So It's the problem is that the Olympic Games take place every 4 years, and especially the young ones want to have it now, actually yesterday. So, but it takes time, a little time, and you learn it.
Marco, for the success of any sport, it seems that star power is important. Obviously, a lot of different personalities in sport climbing. Two names that come to mind, Adam Ondra of the Czech Republic, Janja Gardenbrett of Slovenia, only 21. And maybe not like all sport climbers, these two have extensive outdoor backgrounds, especially Ondra. I know he's done many first ascents. He's really pushed the limit in the sport, both outdoors and indoors. What can you tell us about these two athletes? And secondly, I guess not all climbers have the outdoor background to go with the indoor sport climbing.
Yes, I mean, for sure, they both Adam and Janja push the limit of the sports in competition, and especially Adam out of competition. They are ambassadors of the sport, and they are models not only as athletes but as individuals. They have strong personalities, and they're bringing of course, Janja is bringing the freshness of her age.
Yeah.
She owns a yellow car, and I always kid her, Anyway, and Adam gives lectures all around the world that are amazing. It's for sure, if you are a top athlete, sometimes you have some difficulties to relation yourself with the rest of the world. But in both cases, they are both shy somehow. But what they communicate goes beyond this limit. I think that together they will really give more richness to our sport and eventually to the Olympic Games.
Sounds exciting. Look forward to getting to know the many sport climbing personalities, a wide range of nations. Let's talk briefly about the venue, the Aomi Urban Sports Park. And as I understand, Marco, you'll be sharing with 3x3 basketball, a temporary venue outdoors. What can you tell me about this venue, and what do you think the atmosphere could be like being side by side with 3x3 basketball, which is also debuting at the Olympic Games?
Yes, well, unfortunately, they completed the dismantling of the wall today. So we received the pictures of the wall not being there. There is only the shelter, and they will be dismantling the bleachers in the next couple of weeks. We were ready, but for nothing this time. We will be ready next year. Yeah, sharing with basketball 3-on-3, I think it has made our life a bit easier, because sharing with an experience and all historical federation like FIBA helped us a lot as beginners and newcomers. Especially our relationship with Patrick Baumann was more than friendship, but also now with the new Andrea, the new general secretary, we have a very, very good relationship. And we could learn a lot and rely on them for things that maybe we didn't understand at all. So it's exciting, but it was really useful and convenient for us to share the venue with FIBA.
Yeah, thoughts with Patrick, who obviously contributed so much to the Olympic movement and his sport of basketball, and really across all aspects of the Olympic movement. Wanted to ask you also, Marco, a concern for many outdoor sports, the sweltering heat in Tokyo. Temperatures, they say, could soar up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Climbing being a physically grueling sport, obviously, and outdoors. Any concerns, and what is being done to make sure that athletes can perform at their best and obviously stay safe?
Yeah, clearly, top climbers would never climb with that temperatures and conditions. So we like the shade, we like low humidity, we don't like the heat, because the heat is sometimes compromising the friction, etc. However, this is the field of play. Your soccer, football, World Cup played in Los Angeles with matches played at noon in summer. We understand. No, there are some remedies in place. So, for example, to keep a temperature, constant temperature in what is called the warming up isolation zone, and then some special funds for air circulation. So this will really mitigate these bad conditions. We experienced this. We checked this in the Ano Games last year, where actually temperature was even higher than in Tokyo. It worked very well. In addition to that, we are at the end of the program of the Olympic Games. That means that climbers can arrive almost 20 days beforehand. Mm-hmm. That means they can acclimate themselves to the white stick, and it will be okay. It will be fine.
Yeah. Marco, what about now with Tokyo 2020, and as we're talking about Paris 2024, more exposure, more visibility for the sport? I assume we'll see more World Cups and World Championships broadcast and online. What about potential new sponsors and growth in new markets? I'm sure this is in your head every day.
Well, I think we are in a good position because last year we signed a contract with Sinca Dentsu, and probably Sinca is a small company, but they joined forces with Dentsu, which is the biggest marketing and TV rights agency in the world. And they believed in us. We signed a 5-year contract, and they brought in some non-endemic sponsors. That is something new for us. So, because until last year, we were relying on our, climbing product apparel manufacturers. And now we have, for example, Japan Airlines among our sponsors. And this is also due to the fact that the Team Japan is very strong and they have very high hope of medals. We already starting from solid foundations, and of course, we hope for something more or better after Tokyo. We have to show to the world what we are able to do, or actually what our athletes are able to do, before asking more.
Sounds good, Marco. I like to hear that. Final question. Perhaps new monies, new potential for the sport will happen because of Olympic status. But so many climbers, enjoy, their passion is outdoors, as we talked about, in places like Chamonix and the Dolomites and Yosemite. Do you have any vision that perhaps some of these monies, some of these new programs, some of these benefits could also benefit the more, traditional outdoor climbers where, there are issues with conservation and access and, other challenges? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, actually, of course, we focus mainly on competition and organizing competition, et cetera, et cetera. However, we focus even more on our athletes. So if our athletes, our climbers go outside, whatever activity they want to do, we feel the duty somehow to take care of them. So the answer is, why not? We probably have to collaborate from our position, Olympic position, with other organizations, and we started already, and create the best conditions to our athletes wherever they want to go.
Sounds good, Marco. I like your positivity, like your vision. All the best to you and the International Federation of Sport Climbing, obviously the athletes as well. And we look forward, hopefully in a good situation to see you in Tokyo in about a year from now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And bye-bye, everybody. Go climbing.
Sounds good, Marco. And keep us informed on all the latest news and developments with the International Federation of Sport Climbing. And thanks to you for joining us on this edition of ATRadio. I'm Brian Pinelli. Tune in to AroundTheRings.com for all the latest news and updates about the Olympic movement. Have a great day, everybody.